At a time when some analysts and indeed the opposition have been raising issues about our debt stock, should Parliament approve this facility, which is something that we believe they would, we'll be adding $3 billion plus to our debt stock. Wouldn't that have any consequences for the management of the economy?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you would permit me, before I get to that, let me explain that the $3 billion will be disbursed in what we call two tranches. That is in two parts, to use a very simple expression, of 1.5 billion for Part A and 1.5 billion for Part B. The Part A is a loan facility for 15 years, and the Part B is for a loan facility of 10 years. So we have two facilities, one to be repaid over 10 years and the second to be repaid over 15 years. The concern over debt is something that concerns every government. And we ourselves, you would recall, in 2009, raised the issue of arrears, and the impact that this type of pre-financing was having, on businesses, particularly contractors, and at the local banks. You would also recollect, and one of the issues that has been made is that not too long ago, Ghana declared, HIPIC, which meant that our debts were beginning to get to unsustainable, limits. And what HIPIC meant was that, with the assistance of the World Bank and IMF in particular, leading our creditors, some of our loan was forgiven, others were stretched to allow us more space, as a result of which our loan debt, decreased. That allowed for what we call fiscal space for the MPP administration, to carry out with its own accelerated investments. In particular, allowed for the borrowing of the 750, billion, sovereign bond. Let me say, fiscal space comes in different forms. The measure for debt sustainability is usually you take your loans, which you have contracted or you are about to contract, and compare with your output, which we call GDP. So it's like a household. What is your annual income? Maybe it's 30,000 Ghana cedis to take middle income families. And then you envisage, if I take a loan, over say 2 years to build a house, to buy a car or whatever, would I be able to pay out of my, annual income? It's the same with, with the country. So for the annual output and whatever, we compare. And the loans normally get to unsustainable level when you have taken about 60%.
What would the percentage be if we add the
if I may take it in numbers terms, at the moment Ghana's output or GDP is around 54, 56, billion, Ghana cedis. So if you take, 60% of that, then you are talking about loan portfolio ranging somewhere around 40 billion, so, and we are not, that is what it means. You hear countries like Greece and the rest having, but the factors I wanted to point out is that the economy has been growing. One, the economy grew at about 7.7%. Two, we all know that we are also going to the oil era, and the economy will grow further. We are told to grow at 14 or 15% according to the budget which we prepared. Some estimates put it slightly, higher, so it's between safely 12 to 15%. This allows you space, to borrow, but not to borrow recklessly. That's why I put the emphasis on, in this particular instance, borrowing to invest in the productive sectors of the economy. Two examples. I know we'll look at the projects, but we've just discovered, oil. And we also know that there is associated gas, that comes with the oil. And we've said that we don't want to flare that gas. Neither do we want to re-inject it to spoil the oil wells, the Jubilee. We also know that we've discovered gas in other fields which are yet to come on stream. If you don't want to flare, then that means that you have to put a certain infrastructure in place. Pipelines, to take the gas from, our oil is offshore, our gas is offshore, to bring it, to land, and then another pipeline, that will take the gas, which in a processing plant first, in a way. You bring the gas on shore, process it into, usable, gas, and then it is taken by another pipeline to feed into an expanded Abuazi, Takoradi thermal plant to produce more power. This power, will reduce, first it will reduce the pressure on Akosombo. We all know that we get a bulk of our power from Akosombo. Anytime there's a problem, with the dam, we all know what that meant. As a result of which we were putting in ad hoc, power plants all over the place to try and, and that's why Abuazi thermal plant itself was, set up. At the moment, it is based on crude and the Nigerian gas. So if we are able to direct our own gas to Abuazi and expand it, everybody knows that the power from gas is cheaper. So we are going to reduce the power, cost to industry, to households. But the more relevant thing in terms of productive sector is that this gas is able to pay for itself, because you are adding value. Instead of flaring, you are investing in an infrastructure that will produce power, which can be sold to local industries, to households, and even the potential for export to neighboring countries. So if you take, in the particular loan that we are talking about 600 to 800 million of the 3 billion is going into this gas infrastructure. And we envisage that this is part of the 10-year facility. So we envisage that within a period of 8 to 10 years, the power plant, the gas plant together with the thermal plants itself will pay for the facility. Of course, including probably some government financing. This point is very important because in the past, what we have done is when we take a loan and we give it to our state-owned enterprises, they tend to take it. This is a recent phenomenon anyway. They tend to take it and assume that government, would pay for the loan.